people and working from home when possible.
No matter who you are, please stay home.
New procedures now in effect at the White House, too. A normally packed White House press briefing room sparse today. A new seating arrangement leaving every other seat open.
I'm glad to see that you're practicing social distancing. That looks very nice.
The president's comments, his most direct appeal yet for Americans to take the virus seriously. The new guidelines, an answer to calls from state officials for a stronger federal response.
I want federal guidance. This is a national pandemic, and there are no national rules.
The president tonight also addressing rumors that his administration may soon impose a countrywide quarantine, like the ones in Italy and Spain. Are you considering instituting a nationwide lockdown, a nationwide quarantine?
At this point, not nationwide, but well, there are some places in our nation that are not very effective at all. But we may look at certain areas, certain hotspots, as they call them.
Hotspots.
Looking at that, but at this moment, no, we're not.
And President Trump said the coronavirus crisis could last through July or August.
July?
And when asked if the U.S. is headed toward a recession, he said it may be. Lester?
All right, Jeff, thanks. Also tonight, the administration insists it is dramatically increasing testing capabilities across the country, but some leading ER doctors warn the delay may already have dire consequences. Here's Tom Costello.
Stay home.
From Connecticut to Colorado, Ohio to Alabama, roughly a dozen states are now offering drive-through COVID-19 testing.
Drive-through?
Some people confused by special requirements for testing, like an appointment or a doctor's note. At Christiana Care Hospital in Delaware, they tested 536 people in just 4 hours.
White coats.
One in one side of the nose and one in the other side, and then we put it inside the tube and we close it off and we send it with their individual information.
The White House says 2,000 labs will have the ability to conduct tests by sometime today, processing nearly 2 million tests by the end of the week. Each test could take hours or days to process, but across much of the country, frustration at the lack of tests and slow results. A Virginia man who returned from a trip to New York is now unconscious on a ventilator and in ICU. It took 3 days to get a positive test result.
And in ICU.
Look,
she got it.
He's on his stomach
He's laying on his stomach.
they're just doing
What the
everything
fuck?
they
You
can to
say he
keep
got
him
all
alive,
these tubes and he laying on his stomach?
This is heartbreaking. Come home.
Mass General Emergency Physician Milton says the delays will almost certainly have dire consequences.
And more people die than might otherwise have happened.
Hospitals across the country are now setting up triage tests to screen patients outside of the ER. New York Governor Cuomo calling for the Army Corps of Engineers to set up medical tents. The White House says facilities dedicated to treating COVID-19 patients are already under consideration. In hardest hit states, the White House promises more drive and walk-through testing sites this week, able to screen up to 4,000 people per day.
I want it to be clear to everybody, this is just another tool for states and local public health systems and healthcare systems to use. It's not replacing testing that goes on in a doctor's office or in a hospital.
In the San Francisco area, Google has set up a pilot program to help identify people at highest risk and direct them to a local testing site.
Many of us can get this virus, and it could be mild or even no symptoms at all, but they can actually still give it to a friend or a loved one, and for them, their lungs.
Meanwhile, a vaccine clinical trial with 40 people began today in Seattle, though researchers caution it could take up to 18 months before a vaccine is approved and widely available. Here in the Washington, D.C. area, more than 100 cases already, and Maryland's governor urgently looking for 6,000 hospital beds in the event of a surge in patients. Lester?
Yeah, there's a lot to take in here. Tom, thanks very much. We want to turn out to the deepening impact on business wherever you live. Companies large and small shutting down or scaling back in the critical effort to contain this virus. Dave Gutierrez reports.
Tonight, an unprecedented shutdown, already a gut punch to workers coast to coast, from California to Illinois to New York.
I don't know financially how I'm going to pay my bills.
This is where the virus is spreading. So we have a responsibility to the public
In many states, including Ohio, no more dine-in customers at bars and restaurants, only takeout and delivery orders.
They have to send out, and call everybody and say, hey, as of tonight, 9 o'clock, sign up for unemployment.
That's
We're all done
Cleveland.
here indefinitely. I mean, it's scary.
Many gyms and movie theaters will also close. Today in Teaneck, New Jersey, where the mayor had urged some 40,000 residents to self-quarantine, police officers went door to door telling shop owners about the new restrictions.
Wow.
Have you ever seen anything like this before?
Never in my life. I'm a grandfather and I've never seen this before.
Doug Palsy and Frank Pinto own this restaurant in Newark. Business has dried up. No takeout orders here. They'll be forced to shut down entirely. Does this feel like the new normal?
It's crazy. I hope not.
I'm gonna have to get crazy shit crazy on this.
It's like a nightmare that doesn't end.
That nightmare may just be beginning for the airlines. United is cutting routes by 50% for 2 months. Just look at deserted Reagan Airport this morning. The industry already talking to the federal government about a bailout.
If no action is taken by the government to shore up the system, it is possible that an airline could go under.
Today, another TSA officer tested positive for COVID-19 in Atlanta. Part of the international terminal was shut down this afternoon for cleaning. Lester?
Dave Gutierrez here in New York. Thank you. On Wall Street, the worst day since 1987. The Dow losing almost 3,000 points, even after the Fed cut interest rates to near zero. Let's bring in senior business correspondent Stephanie Rule. Stephanie, what should people know about this stunning drop?
Efforts to combat coronavirus sink in. Today we saw the single biggest point drop in the Dow ever. Out of the gate this morning, markets tanked. Then late in the afternoon, when President Trump's press conference went on, the selling accelerated, effectively eliminating almost all of the gains made in the Dow since he took office. Now, usually when the Fed cuts rates, markets go up, but that is not why they cut rates. The rate cut now is about making sure the system keeps working, that businesses, large and small, are able to borrow money. The rate cuts will help many businesses stay afloat, but what they won't do is put more money in the tip jar for a whole lot of individual workers. Lester?
All right, Stephanie Rule, thank you. We'll be back in 60 seconds with the nation's grocery stores trying to cope with soaring demand and the country's schools, the big switch to online learning. But what becomes of the lifeline they provide for those who need meals? The coronavirus now has many parts of Europe on lockdown as the world passes a grim milestone, with the number of cases and deaths outside China now outnumbering those inside the country where it began. Our Richard Engel is in London.
Tonight, life on lockdown across the and did today to buy groceries, standing 3 feet apart.
Wow.
But security forces are deployed, questioning and doling out heavy fines for those out for non-essential reasons. Italians are finding strength, singing from their balconies. The Italian Air Force last week streamed the colors of the national flag to a recording of Pavarotti's Nessun Dorma. With its emotional crescendo, Vincerò, I will win. Germany sealed its borders today, as did Canada, with U.S. citizens exempt for now. And all of Spain is on partial lockdown, some exercising to keep their spirits up. In France, cafes and restaurants are all shut. Many Americans trying to get home.
It's really stressful, honestly. I really just want to go home and self-quarantine and be with my family.
The World Health Organization today cautioned it still doesn't know how widespread the pandemic already is and urged more testing.
We cannot stop this pandemic if we don't know who is infected.
In South Korea, which has been way ahead of the U.S. in testing, aggressive screening and quarantines appear to be effective, with recorded cases going down. Here in the UK, there is a shortage, as in the U.S., of ventilators. And like in World War II, big industries are being asked to adapt, with companies, including Rolls-Royce, being tasked with producing medical equipment for the nation. Lester?
All right, Richard Engel with a view from overseas. Thank you. And across this country, grocery stores are trying to reassure consumers there is enough food and essential supplies, even as long lines of shoppers leave empty shelves in their wake. Here's Kerry Sanders with that.
Everybody get a chance.
This morning, lines outside a grocery store in Central Florida with anxious shoppers. For days, this has been the picture of America. Showed up today and it's just chaos. There's a huge line to get toilet paper. But in Houston today, reassurance from
Yeah,
a major
H-E-B,
grocery store
here's
chain,
everything.
H-E-B. Its distribution centers well stocked and running overtime to meet demand. Collectively, the nation's largest grocery chains reassuring shoppers tonight, America is not running out of food.
Because we're still gonna be
Well,
able
we
to.
down here buying toilet
Because
paper.
we have these
For
1,300
flu.
trucks a day, plus more coming. So there
Yeah,
will
it's
be
coming,
food.
Bob. It's the
There's not a
flu.
reason to stock up. Just come back tomorrow.
All that tissue.
In Maryland today, trucks loaded with supplies headed to a slammed Costco. The
Costco
same in
is next
Florida.
time.
Pinched public stores getting
Oh,
resupplied.
it's
In
next time.
California, the Northgate Gonzalez Market, one of many shoppers now opening early, just for older
You better
shoppers,
believe
65
this
and
one
up.
man on
We're gonna
like
have
20,000.
for
seniors. One man.
And tonight, at
He
an
getting his
Aldi,
time.
there is enough toilet paper.
Lord.
How do you feel about finding toilet paper?
Pretty good about that.
At a time when coronavirus has put so many people out of work, grocers say they're now hiring thousands of employees to meet the unusual demand.
Well, that's good news. All right, Carrie, thank you. America's schools are also grinding to a halt. Nearly every state has closed some or all of their schools, impacting some 30 million children, more than half the nation's students, many of whom rely on schools for their meals. Here's Raheem Ellis.
Across the country, long lines at America's schools offering unprecedented relief during the shutdown.
This does help to have a little food.
For the most vulnerable children, it's a lifeline. School is not just a place of learning, it's also where many are fed. Schools now packaging food for grab and go.
This morning, we are serving 10,000 meals to our families.
Concerns about coronavirus have led to school shutdowns in almost every state, as well as the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. It's potentially devastating for nearly 30 million kids who get free or reduced cost lunches.
They gave enough for the whole week, for 5 days.
In Miami, gratitude, but still concern.
Thank God I was off today and was able to come out here and get them something to eat, but for the rest of the week, I don't know.
In New York City, the nation's largest school district with more than 1 million students. It's breakfast and lunch for kids who need it. What's the hardest part about being out of school?
Not seeing my friends for a while.
But many parents are worried about learning.
Just trying to find a lot of creative ways to keep the kids engaged.
New York City is starting online classes next week and planning to distribute about 300,000 laptops to students in need.
Unfortunately, on Sunday, I had to do something which is really going to take away the chance for kids to get educated as well as it might have.
A steep learning curve for everyone, not knowing how long the shutdown will last.
To make these words sink in.
NBC News, New York.
All right, we'll take a short break. Up next, our medical correspondent helps separate facts from fear. I want to bring in our medical correspondent, Dr. John Torres, with a key question. John, there's been this generational call for young, healthy people to stay home and out of the public. Why is it so important for them to socially distance themselves?
Are you sure you want to end your stream? Yeah. Let's see what it sounds like and look like.